Can you hear me now? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for all the participants that their presentations. I enlightened very much, and I get some notes about that. Mr. Barber made a very good speech about the general frame of the incentives and the definitions, the detailed definitions, and my presentation is just adjusting it with the empirical practice in Turkey. So you may evaluate by yourself which kind of definition that he made, what is doing in Turkish cases, I hope. And I should start with these things for my presentation, but I don't have it. She reads. There is some complete to you. Okay, like in Turkey, we are having incentives since 2004, and it is almost been 12 years. The first incentive was named as increased investments and employment. It was had a narrow scope that only took few steers into its scope, and it mainly focused the companies who employs more than 10 workers, and the incentives was about only the tax reduction and the subsidies for the insurance payments of employers. Over the time, the incentives are diversified and became relevant in Turkey. Here I try to shortlist about the areas of general areas of incentives in Turkey, which are the increased investments and employments, incentive to pay the insurance payment regularly, decrease the informal work in the labor markets, and to facilitate the labor market integration for youth, women, disabled, and the people who have vocational qualification. So I should move. Okay. Nowadays, we have 10 different incentives that currently implemented in Turkey. They are written on here. The first one that I'm going to explain today is the incentives about insurance payments. There are 3 different types of insurance payments incentives in Turkey that I'm going to try in the next slide to you. And there are also regional and cultural investment incentives, as well as that we have incentives for disabled people, for the unemployment insurance beneficiaries, and for women, youth, and the vocational qualification sufficiency things. And lastly, we have incentives for the on-the-job training program incentives. That is a very recent program in Turkey, and we made incentives just after graduating from this program. We made it. So let me start for the first one. The first one has 3 types of incentives in it. I made it combined in one slide. There is one general incentives that is using in Turkish citizens and the people who works in the abroad who are Turkish citizens as well. And also there is a regional one which has started 2013 and will be end. Most probably the one in the general one will become a permanent one in near future, because these incentives became so like the first. Okay, the first general one is let me show you. The one is separation in itself, and at the beginning it was only the workers in Turkey. Okay, here in this one we have the investment. No, not this one. This is the original. Okay, this one. There is requirements in order to utilize from it. That's why basically if a private company do not have any premium debts and not having any workers who are unregistered can be utilized from it. There isn't any limitation in terms of the number of workers in this one. For each workers in that company can be a subject of these incentives. And in the regional one, there is additional requirements in which they have to employ more than 10 workers. In these incentives, basically the 5% of the employer's insurance payments are paid by the governments, and in the regional one it is increasing to 10%, and the payments are about $20 and $46 per month per person. The next one is the regional investment incentives that is currently implemented in Turkey. That this one is targeting the big companies and who are doing the sizable investments. The companies who have the investment incentive certificates can utilize from these incentives. There are 6 different regions that's specified by the government regarding to the level of development, and there are many subsidies for the companies in these incentives, such as exemption from the costume duties, tax reductions, interest rate supports, and as well as this, the insurance payment supports too. For the costume duties, tax reductions, and for the interest rate supports, it is the amounts of the subsidies are depending on the size of the investments, as might be expected that subsidies are increasing when the investments are higher. And for the insurance payments, only in the 6th region, we have a different way of investments, which we are both compensating the employers and employees' insurance payments, which is approximately $146 per month for each person. And for the other regions, only the employers' insurance payments are covered by the government. And nowadays, more than 90,000 people are utilizing from these incentives per month. Let me move. There is also a cultural investment incentives in Turkey. As you know, that Turkey is a touristical country, so we made this kind of investments incentives in Turkey. For in this incentive, the target groups is also the big companies who are making facilities like hotels, golf facilities, or like ski resorts. And it has 2 requirements in order to utilize, which are they don't have any premium debt, and the companies who have the investment and entrepreneur certificate. The incentives divided into 2 periods. The first phase is the investment period, and the second phase is the operational one. Basically, the amount of the incentives are differing in these terms. In the investment phase, government subsidies the 5% of the employers' insurance payments, and in the operational period, the subsidy is increasing to 10%, which are equal to $20 and $46 for each worker per month. In last, I would say that this has been started in 2004, and many companies have been utilized so far. So nowadays, not so much companies are using these incentives. Only 250 people are utilizing per month in last December. And there are also some incentives for workers instead of the employers. Here, one of them is the incentives for disabled people. As you know, they have some difficulties to integrate to the labor market. So to be ensured to increase their employment, the government subsidizes their insurance payments if the workers hires them. And it is about $86 per month. This has no timeline. In any time, if some companies hire a disabled person, for the time period he or she is working in that company, the company will not pay any insurance payments for them. So this is something for disabled people. And also we have incentives for the unemployment insurance beneficiaries. This is another specific target group in terms of the job seekers. Here in these incentives, for the first time is working. It means they don't have to be unemployed for at least 6 months and can utilize from these incentives. In this one, there is up to the incentives payments are measured by the income of per person. If someone gains more salary, then the amount of the incentives can be raised up to $566 per month for one person, which is quite big money, I guess. And here, the table that I want to share with you, that the timing is different in terms of gender, age differences, and whether they have a vocational qualification certificate or graduate from a vocational high school, or even to register unemployment to Işkur is a depending point for the timing period. For example, if you take a woman who is unemployed and having a vocational qualification certificate and registered to Işkur, a company can utilize these incentives up to 54 months. But if a man who is over 30 years old and have only registered to Işkur, that means only 6 months the company can be utilized for this one. The last incentives that I'm going to explain today for you is the incentives for on-the-job training program. Nowadays, Işkur in Turkey intensively implementing this program all over Turkey. And in this program, participants are working in the companies like interns. And all the wages and the insurance payments are being covered by Işkur up to 220 days. The company are not sharing any cost at all for per people. And there is some requirements for employers to utilize from. There isn't any measures that the employers have to take in order to participate in this program. But if they want to participate it again, then they need some requirements like to employ at least 50% of the participants of this program. And we have been trying to attract employers to employ these people who are work as a on-the-job training program on that company. We consider incentives, and in this one, we have divided into 2 sectors. One is the manufacturing one, and the other sectors. We simply covering their insurance payments from the unemployment insurance funds, which is equal to $86. And if the company is in the manufacturing sector, this time is increasing to 42 months up to, and for other sectors is 30 months. And I hope I will not take time more because it's the conclusion. Just 1 minute more and then finish. We have customized and personalized incentives in Turkey. Mainly they are focusing on the employers. And they are intertwined each other too much. This makes inefficiency to activate unemployment insurance beneficiaries that I tried to explain. And there are some difficulties to monitoring the additional employment and to implementing and also for the unregistered workers, we can't find the workers if there is unregistered or not. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Dortlemez, pour cette présentation sur les mesures incitatives qui ont été prises à partir de 2004 en Turquie, notamment pour pouvoir favoriser l'investissement dans la création d'entreprises dans certaines régions et également pour favoriser l'insertion professionnelle des personnes défavorisées, notamment les handicapés, les jeunes, les femmes et aussi tous les bénéficiaires de certains programmes de formation. Donc on a fini avec la Turquie et maintenant nous allons passer à notre dernier panéliste, Monsieur Noureddin Benkali, qui est le directeur général adjoint de l'ANAPEC, pour qu'il puisse nous présenter le cas du Maroc en matière de mesures incitatives à l'emploi. Monsieur Benkali.